Hey, welcome back to Milton Daily Homes. Hey to Simon once again. We have 46, actually there's a few more on the Oakville Milton list, so there's 49 homes today. It took me like a half hour to read through this stuff, trying to find cool stuff to talk about, but I've got maybe 5 or 6 on my list today. Today I decided to write it down instead of going from the top of the head, so it's probably going to turn out worse. Anyway, if you want some daily listings of homes, just go either up there or on that side. It's going to say listings by email. It is the fastest way to get information. A lot of the public sites do not have great ways of accessing the complete database and also up-to-date information, versus our system plugs you right into ours. And the other thing about Milton is there's 2 MLS systems, each of which offer or operate independently. They send information to public sites. So if you ever want to know why there's more than one listing on the market on realtor.ca, that's why, because the source information is our MLS system, then it migrates over. I think as an industry, we've done a poor job of explaining that, but that's how it works. So let's talk about today's list. Now, there are a lot of townhouses in today's list. We're going to start off talking about a condo. So the 4th floor of the new Courtyards building, 539.9. So here's the thing. They say it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but they listed this as a 1-bedroom, 1-den. I think that's dangerous. I think when you're talking about trying to appeal to the 2-bedroom buyer, you got to put 2 bedrooms in this home. That, I believe, is the party room. So you could look at this and go, is that, this is the unit right here. So to have that as the very first kitchen picture, to me, is just really confusing. Even if there was something, if there was a little rider on top saying, you know, common area, party room, that kind of thing. Shot number 5 is where the unit starts, and you know, and then off you go. It shows the ceilings pretty well. There's lots of good finishes, but there were a few strategic things in this one, like I said, that I'd be a little concerned that it's going to bite them, especially not being listed as a 2-bedroom. The one thing for me personally on Brandon Way is it's really, really close to the 401. It's just off of Maple, before you get into that stretch of shopping with Best Buy and Home Depot. The 401 is going to expand. It's going to continue to get busier and busier and busier. And I would worry about being as close as this street is to that location. So you probably are going to hear the car noise or whatever else, but I know that there's people out there that just look at the listing and say, oh, looks great. And it does. And it's great inside. The price is good. It's going to attract them in. But for me, it's tough. Like the real busy roads, even the one I'm going to talk about in a second with train tracks, that's a tough game for me. So next up is Thompson Road. We have an unfinished basement, about 1,680 square feet. And what they did was they split, this is normally a 3-bedroom home, and they made it a 4. I don't think I've ever seen this. It's called a Linwell. I don't think I've ever seen it with 4 bedrooms. So anyway, inside it's a nice open concept layout. You have a small nook upstairs plus laundry as soon as you get to the top of the stairs. And I guess what they did was they kind of split 2 bedrooms off. Again, most of them are 3. Maybe it is something that the builders offered, but I've never seen it before. Long driveway. Thompson is a busier street, but what you have is these little cutout streets that come off the main road. So you have the road noise, but you actually have, you know, kids can play outside because there's only really, 15, 20 homes on your street per se, this little cutout. The only other thing I'd say, which is nice to have the 2-car parking in the driveway, is that guests can't park on these little cutaway streets. It's considered a fire route. So the guests, if they're not in your driveway, they have to park on a side street and then walk all the way around. So you end up having to have a shuttle service if you've got a party going on. So Milton Brook, the thing I like about this one, now it's interesting when I say I like, I don't know how they're getting drones in the air because we can't get ours up without a huge fine. Walkout basement. I'm going backwards on photos here. But there you go. I don't know why they wouldn't put a stove in. I think that, and I don't even know where the fridge would go. I don't see a spot for the fridge, unless it's on the other side or whatever. So then you've got the rest of the house. It's okay. But the walkout to the basement is good, but it's technically, you got to be careful. This agent said separate entrance, basement, apartment. Apartment is a legal entity. It's a second suite. You have to be careful with that, because by the book in Milton, a legal basement apartment is only allowed in detached homes. And there's stipulations for size and parking and everything else. And this, I'm guessing, would not be considered legal. Now, do people rent illegal basements, things that aren't registered? All the time. Like, probably more than 50% of the available rentals out there are not legal. But it runs into some risk for you as a landlord. And it also, I guess, depends on whether or not you're living upstairs or if you're renting to someone else upstairs. It's a complicated issue. Talk to your lawyer. I have some information that I'm glad to send you. If you want that, just email me. Just say, Chuck, send me some stuff about that landlord. Legal and illegal suites. There's about 3 or 4 links that I've collected over the years that are my personal favorites to send to people. Okay, so Bond and Crescent. This street, actually, it's rare to see an all brick home here. There's a lot of siding on the street. Lots of stuff. Like, my advice would have been to these people, take this stuff down, take these things off. And also, that light is about $2. And I think that when you're highlighting something as important as a kitchen, is it worthwhile to invest $50 or $100 out of $700,000 plus to enhance the appeal of a room? I would say absolutely, for sure. Light fixtures are generally second only to paint in my eyes in terms of investment potential, because they can really transform a room. I mean, here's another one. That light, that little sort of plate light, that's been around since I was a kid. We're talking 40, 50 years they've been putting these lights in places. And they've got, a cute bed. They can, there's still some things to take down around here. In the bathroom, you could really, really simplify in there. At least they replaced the bathroom light. That's not a standard builder light. And the same thing in here too. So they're just simple things that can make a big difference. Decluttering. It may look normal to someone, but it's almost like you have to go further in order for it to look normal, because the photos are a completely different animal. This basement was likely finished by the builder. And I like the iron pickets here too. You don't see that often in these homes. That people would say, okay, well, how come there's a slope there? Because right behind is train tracks. And so this is used as a physical barrier for the sound, but it still carries over. You still know there's a train behind you. I have had people say to me that I've heard both sides of it. I've heard people that say, the train doesn't even bother me. I don't even know it's there half the time. Other people say from day one that I moved in, I couldn't stand it. I clenched my teeth every time I saw or heard the train. So I don't know what it is. I've never lived next to trains. I grew up in an area where there were a lot of airplanes flying over, and I know that blended in the background. Half the time someone would say there's a plane, I say, oh, I didn't even notice. So I do think there's some truth to that, but I also understand that it's a train. Like, you're going to hear it. I don't know. Now, one thing I know about people is they tend to kind of gravitate towards homes like the environments that they grew up. And I look at something like this. This is our new listing over on Wilson. I think about that antenna. Like that reminds me of childhood, having a Canadian flag, having a big property, a double car garage. This one has a steel roof as well. So by the way, it's probably going to outlast you. But I just look at this and think, man, that is just a home that, it's got some renovation. It's got some great features inside. But it's just enough of that kind of old school charm that I think it's really going to appeal to someone. Look at the big window in the kitchen. You've got under cabinet lighting. You did, nice backsplash. So you got the modern, but you also have that really, I think, charm of yesteryear. And so this home's a nice balance there. Even something modern like a wainscoting here in the bedroom. And then you look at some of the wood trim around some of the windows too. So bit of brick here. You've got, your fireplace, but you also have, the carpets are in good shape. So this is really a nice home, and you've got lots of privacy along the back here. A deck that you could entertain a big group of people. That deck is probably, I'm going to guess, like 15 by 15 or so, maybe even a bit larger. And just a nice front lawn, lots of parking in the driveway, and a home that's been very well kept. So 4 bathrooms, which is very hard to find in this neighborhood, and $750, and they're going to take offers sometime next week. I'm not sure the exact date off the top of my head. So it's a lovely, lovely home, and the owners are lovely. So shout out to Kevin and Linda. Now, I was speaking to a friend last night about this layout and this model. It's like nothing that I've ever seen. They're very tall houses. Like, they head and shoulder clear most of the other homes on the street. But what they were talking about is that they converted the basement, because there's only really a couple stairs going down to the basement, or you can go directly in from the garage. But they converted that to a little in-law suite. And the other interesting thing about this one is that the kitchen is kind of nestled in between 2 living areas. And there's not really a window here, so it has a layout. I mean, I've been in a lot of homes in my life, and I've never seen a layout like this. This is something that's totally unique to this home. And whatever this builder did, they didn't do it in a lot of places. You do see, that's the hospital right there. So you've got Dairy Road right behind. A little tree house, which is a nice throwback, like I was talking about in Wilson. But you are going to get the busier road. And you might even get, things like ambulance noise if you got someone rushing to the hospital. There are probably noise bylaws about when you can, when that siren's allowed to be used and not. So there you go. That's what it is. So there's your basement. Actually, I have a little suite set up in here. And the street, Clover Park, is one of those streets that's very street hockey friendly as well. So this one on Alexander's listed as a 2-car garage. It's funny because the angle of the photo, I think it's a double, but I'm not sure. I mean, I would definitely encourage you to drive your car in. That apparently is your dog's view of what it looks like when you come in the home. And there's a lot of these interesting angles in this home. Nice finishes, pretty open concept layout too. You've got this little feature wall here. I don't know if that's stone or what it is. Nicely upgraded kitchen. You're less than 2,000 square feet, so you're not a huge house, but that can be a nice size. So there's another nice one in this list for $850 that's about just under 2,000 square feet too. A lot of things that they've improved or gotten better since the original build, including the ensuite bathroom. And it says it backs onto a ravine, but I'm pretty sure that backs onto James Snow. So, but there is some distance there. So it's like you have no neighbors behind, but you're still going to see the road. On the other side of James Snow is going to be the Dairy Green Business Park. So you're going to have commercial that you will see from your bedroom, and you're going to get some of the road noise too. But overall, it's a good looking home. Man, that's a lot of homes in the month of May. I need to check this, but I think we were 800 to 900 new listings in that month, whereas the normal load is something like 380, I think, last year. So big difference in inventory, but the market is also kind of showing signs of some life too. We noticed a lot more showings happening on the listings, and I think we've kind of turned the corner on that freeze that people had kind of at the end of April into May. So I think June will be a good month for buyers and sellers. I think you have to, as a seller, have a good product. You have to show pride of ownership. You have to show that the home is in good shape. It's more important than ever. And for buyers, there's a combination of good deals out there, and there's also, just like I said, homes that you may have to compete with. So we're very much in a balanced state, which, if it continues, I think is good for everyone. For sellers, they don't always sell in 3 days, so you may just have to hang in there with the amount of competition you have. So if you want some good advice about anything on the buyer sell side, you know that we're here for you. You know that we lead with an education-based approach, and we're going to take really good care of you. So have a great day. Have a great weekend. Check out the Downtown Milton Street Festival happening tomorrow, I think from late morning to all the way up to the evening, and Platinum Blonde is performing at night. They're kind of the last show. So if you're an 80s fan, put your flock of Seagulls hair up and enjoy some Platinum Blonde, and we'll see you back here on Monday.